Okay, so when you're doing your makeup, the first thing you want to start with is priming your face, and basically that just keeps your makeup in place all day. And I use 3 different primers. I use the Benefit Porefessional and the Smashbox Photo Finish, and then also the MAC Prep and Prime. I use the MAC on my cheeks because my cheeks are usually pretty dry, so this kind of moisturizes it more than primes. And then I have an oilier T-zone, so I like to use the Smashbox, which is more of a velvety finish on that. And then I use the Benefit for my forehead, my chin, and the under eyes. I usually like to go in a downward motion with the hairs on your face, so it's just gonna make everything turn out more even, nice. And if you have a few breakouts like I do right now, I usually like to go in with Maybelline Cover Stick. It's just a color corrector. You can use any stick. Usually green is the color, or you can get orange. I just do a little bit of this with wherever I think that I need a little bit extra protection. And I just use my finger because it is such a light application that it does go away pretty easily. All right. Next, we're going to be doing our foundation, and today I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me foundation in 115, and then I'm also going to be using the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in 20. That's what it looks like right there. And because one of them is a little bit darker than the other, and I'm not nearly this dark right now, I like to mix them just so that it evens out the colors, because this is a little too light and that's a little too dark, and it's kind of hard to find your exact shade. So you just put them together like this, and then you just do that to mix it around. Alright, and then whatever's left over here, you just start putting it on your face, and then you take your beauty blender and you can spray it with some more MAC Prep and Prime just to help it have a little bit extra coverage. Then you're just going to take a little bit and you're just going to start blending it out. Okay, so once the foundation is put down, it is looking a little yellow. The next thing you want to do is conceal, and I'm going to be using the NARS in Vanilla Light 2. It just looks like this. Take the same beauty blender, just pick up a little bit, and it's going to go under your eyes, on the middle of your forehead, and the middle of your chin. Sometimes when your foundation is looking a little too dark, concealer can help even it out almost, make it look a little bit more natural, which is what I'm going for right now, so that when you contour it all just kind of blends together. I personally like to bring it a little bit more on the nose, just so you can start the contour there, especially if you have an oily T-zone like me. It gives you a little bit extra cushion almost, so that if you have it on all day, it stays a little bit longer. So the next thing we want to do is bake, which basically means that you're going to put a little bit of loose powder on your face where you just concealed, so that you can make sure it doesn't crease over time. And I use the Clinique Transparent Neutral Powder. And it just looks like that basically. Almost out, I need more. And you're just going to put a little bit on the lid. You're going to take your beauty blender again. Do a little bit like that, and then just go wherever you put concealer, and you're gonna look like a crazy person. Just totally fine. And personally, I usually leave it on for about 30 seconds or so. And to remove it, I'm gonna be using the Morphe E2 brush, which is just a giant fluffy brush that just brushes it all off for you. And the next thing I go in with is my Bye Bye Pores by IT. And I'm gonna be taking Take any sort of brush you want. I personally like to use like a Morphe thicker brush. This is a Morphe M439. And I just swirl it around and blotch it on. I like to put it all over my face almost. And even onto the neck. So it all just goes together. And even sometimes the ears, because I'm a crazy person. On the inner corner of my under eyes, they do tend to crease a little more. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to place some loose powder under it like that, just for right now, so that the concealer doesn't get messed up. These just take a little bit longer, so if you do have certain areas that you have noticed that are creasing more, just have it bake a little bit longer. And the next thing we'll be doing is brows, which I'm just going to do off camera. So once the brows are done, then we're going to go into contouring, and I like to use the Hoola Benefit bronzer with the Morphe Y9, and you're just going to go here on either side, your jawline, your forehead, and your nose. Sketch it out like that, and then you're just going to start blending. And the thing I love about this bronzer is that you can go as light as you want, so if you want it very natural you can, or you can obviously go as dark as you want, and you can really see it sculpt. See the difference on the sides, and you're just going to bring it up to the forehead, and you're going to do the jawline. And sometimes when I feel like this is almost adding too much precision, I like to go in with the Morphe E33 and just buff it out. I usually do it for the jawline just because if you have it super dark, it is obvious and it's just not what you want. And we're going to do the other side. You want to go on the top of the cheekbone. You don't want to go under because then it's going to give you a very lopsided and not a good look, basically. You're just going to look kind of crazy. And for the nose, I bought this Morphe collection that's literally just for nose contouring. And it includes 3 brushes. It includes the Morphe M6, the Morphe M3, and the Morphe MO. And they all just kind of look like this. And for the contouring of the nose, I usually just like to use the M6. And what you want to do is you just want to kind of tap it in here because you don't want it to be too much. And then you're just going to sculpt it like you do everything else. And then bring it down. Bring it down. You're just going to blend it. And you don't want to blend in, you want to blend kind of out so that the outer corners are what disappear. And there's that. And then you're going to take this one, the MO, and you're just going to take a little bit of loose powder in it. And you're just going to go like this. And then down the middle. And then you're going to take your fluffy brush again, the E2. You're just going to wipe away any extra loose powder, including the ones under my eyes. Loose powder is always a personal preference because if every face is different and your skin's different and your pores are different, so what you do is basically what fits your skin best. So if you have oilier skin and you want to leave it on, you can, but if you always leave it on too long, then it can look a little cakey and you don't want that look. So just kind of play with it a little bit and then you can see what you think would work best for your skin. And since the contouring is done, we're going to go in with blush. And I'm going to be using the Tarte Party with 3 A's. And I use the Morphe E4. It just looks like this. And you're just going to dab it in a few times. Make sure to always dust off the excess. And then you're going to want to go here and here. So just a little bit over the contour, but you want to mix it in almost, if that makes sense, like this. And you don't want to brush it on too hard because then it's going to be too pink unless you're really into the dark pink. I've never been a huge blush person, so just brush it on until you think you have enough. Then, once that's done, you're going to cut. You don't have to do this, it's just to make your contouring more precise. So you're going to take your baking powder again, and you're going to put it on your beauty blender. And it's just going to look like that, a tiny, tiny bit. And what you're going to do is just going to take it. You're just going to cut it like that. And this I usually don't leave on for a long amount of time either. So leave it on for about 20 to 30 seconds. And you're going to go back in with your fluffy brush. Just dust it off. And your base is done. And what I usually like to do once I finish my base is I do like to set it right away just so that it stays in place once I'm doing my eyes. And I use the Morphe setting spray and it is my all-time favorite. I've tried multiple different setting sprays, some of the best ones, and I've had some really bad ones, but I've noticed this one's really great and it just makes it last for a much longer time. So you're just gonna go like that, and then usually I like to take the same fluffy brush and just dab it in to make sure it gets everywhere. My favorite part of the base is the highlight, which I always do after the setting because this just makes it pop even more. And I use the Lorac Cosmetics. It doesn't have a name. It's literally a Pirates of the Caribbean like collection. And it has bronzers and highlight and blush in it, and it just looks like that. And I usually use this one for my nose and these two for my cheeks, that one for my forehead. And I sometimes like to mix it with other ones, and right now I think I'm gonna mix it with the Jeffree Star Skin Frost. And it looks like that. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this one, there's a lot of kickback on it, so just make sure you get it off. You're just gonna go right above your contour. Like, you can instantly see that. Woo! Woo! Oh, it is literally the best highlighter I've used. Like, it's amazing. It's my go-to every time. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of the Jeffree Star. Just gonna swirl it around. This one's amazing too. I've noticed it's a little more chalky, which isn't my favorite. So I just take a little bit, and it just adds a tiny bit more definition. And this one's a little bit more gold, so it just adds a little bit more reflective. So the cheeks are done. Next thing we're gonna do is the forehead. So you're gonna take this rose gold looking one. And I think this one just really goes well because it kind of goes with the blush, so you kind of get the effect. And I just put it over my brow bone on either side. And you just kind of brush it out like that. And it just gives you the very subtle look. And then we're gonna go in with the whiter one. This one is called Fortune, and then I used Destin and Star Rated for the cheeks, and then the rose gold one was Bold Spirit. And I'm just gonna go in with Fortune, the white one, on my nose, and then you're gonna go on the top. Next, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna prime your eyes. And because eyeshadow can move around a lot, you're sweating through the night, it'll move. And this keeps it in place all day. And I use the MAC Painterly Paint Pot. It's just this little container, and you just take a little synthetic brush. This is a cheap brush. It doesn't have to be nice for this. And you're just gonna put it all over your eyelid. Wherever you're gonna be putting eyeshadow, it just helps it stay in place. The next thing you wanna do is you can either use like a skin colored eyeshadow, or you can use your translucent baking powder. Just because my baking powder is already out, I'm going to use that again. I'm going to use the MO brush from Morphe again. You're just going to put a little bit on, and you're just going to brush it all over the eyelid. Just so that you're setting / baking your eyelid. Just like a normal primer. So today for eyeshadow, we're going to be using the Juvia's Place Nubian palette. And it's just a basic brown palette. It literally has almost everything in there. And it has metallics, it has mattes, and it's perfect for any natural eye look, which we're going for today. And we usually use a multitude of brushes. But the very first brush I like to use for the inner crease is the Morphe I39. It's kind of like a blending brush, but it's a little bit thinner on the sides, and it just is easier and more precise. So we're going to be going in with these two colors right here. And we're just going to be putting them together, and you're just going to go in with the eyes. Right in the crease. And you just want to build it up. You don't want to start off super pigmented. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with this eye look yet, but that's the really fun part about makeup, is that you can just play around with it, and then it's going to look a little messy at first, and it's going to look a little unblended and not what you want it to, but by the end you're going to be able to pick it up and find where you want it to go. And for this motion, I'm just using little circular motions. Just notice it blends better. And so what I've started to do is I've started to bring it in more and out more and then up, so that it's a little bit more out of the crease. Like so. And it's gonna look very unblended like this. It looks very thick. It just looks like I just put a slab of line on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a blending brush, and we're gonna use the E27 Morphe. Just looks like this. And you're just gonna start on the outer and just go in like this. And you can take it out as far as you want it to, or you can keep it in. It's all personal preference. I personally like to make it look like it has like a little wing at the end. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the same M39 brush, and we're going to take the darker color of the two, which is going to be this one. And we're just going to pat it around, and then we're going to bring it to the bottom on either side, so. And then we're gonna be taking a MORPHE E36. It's this tiny precision brush, and we're gonna take this color down here, right here, and we're just going to darken the edges. So we're gonna go right here. Alright, and then once you get it placed, make sure to blend it out because it is gonna look a little crazy. And then what I like to do is I'm gonna take the same brush we've been using this entire time and the lighter shades of the two. I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna run it on top. Alright, and then you're gonna take the same E39 brush and you're gonna take the two colors we mainly use, the two lighter ones, and you're just gonna run it under your eye. I personally am not a fan of a ton of eyeliner under the eye unless it's like a nude or a black. And so I've noticed that just putting eyeshadow under your eyelid just really helps it pop and bring the look all together. You just kind of run it all over. Blend out if needed, that. And then you're gonna take the darker color we were using, tiny bit because it's very pigmented.
Stab yourself in the eye a little bit.
Overall, the eyeshadow is now done. And as you can see in the middle, there's a little bit of opacity there. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna pick a metallic. So I have a few metallics here, and I'm going to be mixing this one and that one together, and maybe a tiny bit of that one. And we're just gonna put it on the inner part of the eyeshadow. And the best way to do that is to just use your finger. I've noticed that works best. So you're just gonna swirl your finger around a little bit. Look how bright that is. That is literally insane. Right, and once you place it, it's gonna look a little crazy because you need to blend it in. So you're gonna take the same little precision brush and you're just gonna blend it in. What I usually like to do is I like to take the dark color, whatever color you use, and I just like to add a little bit so that when you blend it, it makes it just go in a little bit easier. And then you can go back in as many times as many layers as you want to get the perfect amount of metallic that you want. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little precision brush, M326 by MORPHE, and it's got a little bit of a flatter head, and we're gonna use this for under eyebrow highlight and the inner corner. And we're gonna use the same white we used, the Fortune, from the nose. We're just gonna put it here. The tiniest bit, since we already do have a highlight in the middle, just to make it work together. You don't want it to look like you're crazy. You just want to highlight the brow bone. The next step is totally optional. You can literally put on some mascara and you can call it good to go, or you can put on some false lashes, which I'm gonna do, and we're gonna use the Tarte Girl Boss style. They come in this box and they're a little more draggy, which is what I like. I always just think that having a little bit crazier eyelashes always brings the look all together. So these are a very drag eyelash, and they're very wispy. I personally think they're very pretty. Obviously they're a little out there, so if you want something a little more casual, they always have natural looking lashes, which you can always do, or just mascara, personal preference. I'm gonna do the other eyelash, or the other eyelash and eyeshadow off camera, and then I'll be right back. So this is the final result of the makeup look, and I'm very proud of it. I think it turned out pretty well. I did add some pink lipstick because I added a little pink in the eyes, and this is from MAC Cosmetics from Nicki Minaj's collection called Nicki's Nudes, and I think this is a very easy look that anyone can do. If there's one thing from this look that I urge you to maybe go out and try, it would be this Nubians palette. It's great. It's from Juvia's Palace. It can really give you any type of natural look you want, and it's great for beginners. And yeah, so make sure to please like and subscribe and go visit the SIREN website, and we will see you soon. Bye!